Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Daily Word. Today is Monday, November 22nd of the year 2021. We are in the week of Thanksgiving, of course. And yesterday we took the time to have lunch together and then decorated the sanctuary. And so for the next several weeks and several days, I've been going to do my Daily Word from here in the sanctuary. And you can see behind me our tree. And so glad you could join me for our time together. Cold this morning when I left for a meeting early this morning, but it's a beautiful day and the sun is shining. So I'm glad you could join me for our time together. You're welcome if you want to come anytime during this time and sit in the sanctuary for these few minutes together. You're welcome to do that during these next several weeks. So you can let me know you're coming, or I can make sure I have the door unlocked if you want to do that. If not, that's okay as well. So the scripture for this morning, it's a familiar one, and it's an interesting one that challenges us, I think, rather deeply in our thinking and in our conversation about what it means to live as Jesus called us to live. So this scripture, Matthew 18:21 from 22, is part of a bigger thing about forgiveness and about sin and about how to live together as the church. And all of this happens. And then there's this question that gets asked. And it's this: how often should I forgive? As many as 7 times? Jesus said to him, not 7 times, but I tell you, 77 times. Now, I have to tell you that this scripture is a difficult one, and we wrestle with what that means, the issue of forgiveness, because in the wake of conflict, in the wake of disagreement, in the wake of not seeing eye to eye, Jesus wants us to forgive. But he doesn't tell us what it means to forgive. That would have been easier if he had said, look, here's what it means to forgive. But instead, he gives this answer that seems unattainable, right? 7, not 7 times, but 77 times. Or in other texts, 70 times 7. So the number, if you just do the math of it, the number is 490. And even that number, for all of us, seems unattainable. What does that even mean? To forgive 70 times 7. What does that even mean for us? Well, first of all, forgiveness, is transactional. It's something that we do. The math will never add up for us, even if we try. Second, forgiveness doesn't mean that we forget the wrong. It's not giving up on justice or anything like that. Forgiveness doesn't require that we reconcile with the perpetrator. But what forgiveness does for us, it's a movement towards a place in us. A place in us. Now listen to this. Forgiveness is a movement toward a place in us where the wrong, where we've been wronged, holds less intensity. It's like a breath of fresh air. Now, I know that that's difficult, and there are many people who I talk to who are in conversation with me, or even in the life of this church, of our church family, who have been wronged, and in some cases wronged in a large way. And when I hear the conversations and we continue the conversation, that just continues to stir up in them. What forgiveness does for us is gives us this plan, this movement where we've been wronged eventually holds less intensity for us. It's like a breath of fresh air. It's like a cold drink of water when we're just parched. It's an act of mercy and grace that God grants us, first of all. So the number, that Jesus gives, 490, is unattainable. But what it means for us in this continued quest to forgive is that we find the grace to forgive and continue to forgive with the same grace we did the first time, with the same grace we will for the 1000th time. So we live in community with each other. And we have found community to be difficult in these days, in the last 18, 19, 20 months, soon to be 2 years. And community has changed. We don't gather like we did in places like this. We don't gather in big groups in restaurants. Many restaurants, confine us to 6 or less people, which I understand. It makes a lot of sense. And so our lives have become fragmented. And we've been hurt in all kinds of ways in these months. Relationships have suffered. We don't always see eye to eye. It's not on purpose, most often, at least in my experience. But we have a hard time finding this common ground. And we have a hard time even offering forgiveness for each other. But Jesus reminds us that this forgiveness is indeed between us and God, and it's transactional, and it doesn't add up. We can't do the 490 that's unattainable. What it means for us is that when we forgive, when we choose to live in community with each other, we choose again, in some cases, to find common ground, and in other cases, common ground's impossible. But for us, for me, for you, when we choose to forgive, remember that forgiveness eventually moves us to a place where for us, personally, where we've been wronged, holds less intensity. And then we can move on. I think that's such a good word for us in the climate that we live in these days, where we need to find ways to forgive, that we need to find ways to have grace with each other, that we need to find ways to have mercy with each other. And that when we can do that then God gives us, I believe, the grace and the chance to forgive. And maybe for us, and I know for me, sometimes it's the grace that I haven't seen yet that I need to see in my own life, that helps me forgive and helps me to move on. I know for some of us, Thanksgiving and the season of Advent and Christmas are tough. We have faced loss. Our lives have been changed. For some of us, this loss will be pronounced large with an empty seat at the table, or a relationship that's still just not what it should be, and forgiveness can't be found. But I pray that in these moments and these days that are coming up, where we'll gather every day like this, we'll gather for worship on Sunday morning, we'll gather around tables in our homes, we'll gather around tables here again, beginning on December 1st on Wednesday night, that for us, we'll find the grace that we need to overcome and to know that forgiveness then for us would hold in the wrong that that's been perpetrated on us, whatever it is, would hold less intensity. And we could move to a place of grace and mercy in our own lives. And I think, as I talk to people, that's really a place where we need to be. A place where God's calling us to be as we live our lives deep within community. And that's such an important thing that we do together. So I pray that this is a good word. I pray that you and I can find enough of the grace that we need and finally see it. That the intensity that is burning inside of us would be less and less. And that we would know of God's grace for us in our lives. The number is unattainable, but the possibilities of it becoming less intense are real for us. So that's our word for today. I pray it'll be a blessing to you as you think about it and as you consider where we are in our relationships with each other. Know of God's love that surrounds you. Know of my love for all of you. I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Have a great day.